Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, Nebraska men's basketball star Bryce Williams was named Big Ten Player of the Week for the second time this season. He averaged 27.5 points, over 7 rebounds, and 5 assists per game last week against Illinois and Oregon. Williams is the second Husker to win multiple Big Ten Player of the Week honors, joining Siobhan Shields, who earned the award twice in the 2013-14 season. In other Husker basketball news, assistant coach Nate Lenzer has been selected as a participant in the 2025 Silver Waves Media Future Head Coach Power Lunch this April in San Antonio, Texas. The event features 75 assistants and gives them the opportunities to meet with athletic directors and search firms during the Final Four. Last year's class included 10 assistants who went on to be head coaches. More information came out today on the welcome celebration for new volleyball coach Danny Busboom Kelly. It will take place on Thursday, February 6th at 2 p.m. in the Bob Devaney Sports Center. The celebration is free and open to the public, with doors opening at 1. The welcome celebration will also be streamed live on Huskers.com, the Huskers app, and social media accounts. For more information, visit Huskers.com. And finally, one major college basketball game tonight in the Big 12 as 16th-ranked Kansas hosts 8th-ranked Iowa State. Tip-off is set for 8 p.m. and can be watched on ESPN. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 1 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Williams bends over with the basketball, up top, drives it, kicks it out, in the corner, Gary's three. Got it! Bang! A ring for Jawan Berry. What a huge, humongous, gigundous three-point goal by Jawan Gary, and it's an 8-point Husker lead at 61-53. It's Williams against Tracy. Here comes the ball screen. Morgan for Williams. They hedge that. Double team comes. He leaves his feet, throws it off to Wooster. On the pressure release, Wooster goes to the elbow. Pull up, jump shot on the way. Got it! Bang! Bang, a ring! It's Wally Wooster with a huge shot. Maybe his biggest of his Cornhusker career.
Deep left side, Nisley. 1:41 to go. High lob. Underneath, back cut. Prince, and it counts! And a foul! What a dandy dime from Logan Nisley on the high left side. Prince made the back cut, got open, and she'll shoot one.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome into the show, everybody. Happy Monday. Jessica Coody here with Nick Hanley over the next couple of hours. We typically have our Nebraska men's basketball hour on Mondays, but since the team is traveling and they're staying out there on the West Coast after a big win at Oregon last night, then they'll take on Washington on Wednesday. So they're staying out there and with dealing with practices and travel and all that. I did not have the opportunity to have a full hour tonight, so we'll have Coach Hoiberg joining us here in just a few minutes. Have a segment with him to break down that win and preview the matchup with Washington. But we'll be with you here talking all things Husker hoops, and also lots of football news that we want to get to. Coach Rhule met with the media on Saturday, so we're going to dive into that a little bit, but we're going to save that for hour number 2. Talk lots of hoops here in hour number 1. So, Nick, thanks again for being back with us. You had to scramble. I probably didn't communicate with you as well, but thanks for hopping on, and have a good weekend.
It was a great weekend. It was capped off with a Sunday night victory, too. A little late Sunday night hoops that we got a chance to see Nebraska pull off their 4th win against a ranked opponent, the first time since, 26 years. So I would have been, from doing the math, I would have been 20. Yeah, people can add that up now. They can figure that out.
You don't have to put your age out there.
Oh, I did. It's okay. I'm not. You're as old as you feel, right? I feel like I'm still in my 20s. But yeah, it was it was a good weekend. But again, the basketball part of it obviously capped it off for Nebraska. And as you mentioned, a lot that came from football on Saturday, and then and then good football news yesterday as well. So it's, if you're a Husker fan, you really liked a lot of at least what happened on the men's side of things.
Yeah, a tough one for the women losing at Indiana, which we will have Amy Williams. She will have her full show tomorrow night. We can dive into that. It's a tough place to play at Indiana. They were hot. Huskers did not shoot it as well. So, just a tough stretch and at Purdue than at Indiana. But we'll dive into that with Amy Williams coming up tomorrow. But man, first Big Ten road win. They've won 2 in a row, back-to-back wins over ranked opponents. And Nick, there's so many things that were much better this time around. I guess, one of the things that's been plaguing this men's team is they've not gotten off to good starts on the road, and they got off. It was probably their best start on the road at Oregon yesterday, which ultimately led to them having a lead at half and then, getting things rolling for them.
Well, and the thing that you and I have discussed many times before a Nebraska game, and a lot of the things that we're looking for is, can you get Juwan Gary active early on? And Juwan, I thought, even though he wasn't the leading scorer last night, that was Bryce again. Bryce was outstanding. Juwan was fantastic. He was relentless. And the thing that was so good about his performance yesterday, in my opinion, is every time Oregon was making that run, trying to get back, they get within 4 points there midway or early in the second half. And then right in transition, Juwan Gary, non-hesitant, flushes one, and all of a sudden it's a 2-possession lead again. And so his points were so timely in that game. And the other thing, Jessica, is like we talked about after the win against Illinois, Nebraska played a far from perfect game, which I think is encouraging.
Yeah.
It's not like this team is going to have these offensive nights where they're putting up 90 points, they're shooting, better than 65%. I mean, but if you look at 4 of 23 beyond the arc, obviously they can improve on that. 51% from the field, they can shoot better than that. They did out-rebound Oregon, which was a plus, but they turned the ball over more than they did against Illinois. So doing all of that kind of grimy play on the road against a legitimate top 25 team that is feeling it a little bit, and not in a good way, Nebraska was just able to take advantage, I think, of a lot of defensive breakdowns that Oregon had early in that game. And then much like we saw in the Illinois game, where Oregon was giving the best shot there towards the end, they had the winning recipe there to close out the game. In overtime against Illinois, and then last night on the road, they were able to close it out. And they did so, I think, with a couple of interesting performances. Obviously Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary's, those were big. But I even think a guy that you and I talked about last week, Braxton Mia, we knew he'd have to play. And Andrew Morgan goes out in the first half with foul trouble. Braxton Mia gave you 7 solid minutes. He creates a turnover right out of the gate. And I was really interested in what his body language would look like after DNP's the last 2 games. He looked connected. He looked engaged. So I thought that was a positive as well.
Yeah, and I think so. During that stretch, and especially during the close games, maybe there were times that we were asking for somebody to step up and be a killer, be the guy, take over this game. And it's 2 wins. They've got a lot of work to do, but I feel like Bryce Williams, Juwan Gary they've answered that call, and maybe was a wake-up call for them during that stretch. But there were times during those losses where you're like, come on, make the play. You're the guy. You're the leader. And maybe didn't make those plays that would solidify wins, but during the stretch down against Illinois, you saw Juwan make some huge plays, got a huge offensive board and putback, made the big-time block on the defensive end, and then Bryce takes over in overtime. I feel like those 2 guys have done what you need them to do to win these close games here in these last 2 games. Obviously, they're going to have to continue to do that, but that's what I feel like I've been asking for those 2 guys to do here during this stretch where they had some tough ones.
I'm with you, and I'm convinced that if those guys, okay, you don't necessarily need 28 every night from Bryce, you'd take it. You don't necessarily even need 23 from Juwan every night, you'd take it. But you're seeing other guys that have that potential. Connor Essegian, you almost kind of have to you're going to live with the ebbs and flows. You're going to live with a little bit of the roller coaster when it comes to shooting the basketball, but he's a guy that can give you double figures in the drop of a hat. Andrew Morgan, if he's able to stay out of foul trouble, and unfortunately he didn't, he still gave you 8 points last night, but there's a guy that can, I think, more times than not is going to be able to put himself into double figures. And I think Berkey as well. I think he is another guy that even with 3 points last night, there's offense there with him. So what can you get from the point guard position? I thought Raleigh Worcester did some good stuff off the bench last night as well. And Aaron Eulis is going to probably eat up more minutes than anything. I don't think you're necessarily looking for an offensive explosion out of him. But the point is, if you're getting steady play from Juwan Gary and from Bryce Williams, between Sam Hoiberg and some of the other guards, whether they're starters or coming off the bench, and then what you can get from your front court as well, especially with Andrew Morgan, who's a little bit more of an offensive savvy forward, I think that you can expect other nights where those guys are going to have contributions, and that workload isn't going to be so heavy for Gary and for Bryce Williams.
Yeah, and I think, too, you hit on this point earlier just about a gritty win, and it wasn't their best offensive performance. But Coach Hoiberg has said that about this team from the start, is that they're going to have to get it done on the defensive end, and they got away from that a little bit during that tough stretch, and they've been more intense and more intentional, I guess, on the defensive end. They've had more energy. They've been better these last two games when it hasn't always been flowing offensively. But this still is a good basketball team. They've beaten, as you mentioned, multiple ranked teams. They've got a good resume, and they've shown that they can compete with some of these teams. It's just, they've got to consistently show up and do that. But I've talked to several of the coaches over since the season started, with them coming on the show and just throughout the process of covering this season. And they feel like, this is a more talented basketball team than they had last year. They have the length, they have the size, they have the athleticism. It's just they've got to show up and do what they're supposed to do. And when they do, it doesn't have to always be pretty, but when they do what they're supposed to do, they can compete with the best. They can compete with some of the best teams in the country, as we've seen with those big ranked wins.
Well, and look at what they did defensively in the last two games, of a combined 62 attempts beyond the arc from their opponent, 20 last night and then 42 for Illinois, and keeping that percentage low. That was an issue during that losing streak, was the closeouts, their defense on the perimeter, and the three-point percentage that their opposition was putting up in some of those losses. And so I feel like they've corrected that. And last night was very similar to the way that they defended Kalkbrenner at Creighton. When you saw Biddle, who is a big guy, they were able to get in their collapse, but then their rotation, their recovery was exactly what I remembered it when they were playing in Omaha against Creighton. They were able to get out, recover, contest shots. And so anything that was going down, it wasn't because they were getting wide open looks. And if they did get that, they weren't giving consecutive looks like that. So there were very few defensive breakdowns last night. And then I thought, for a guy that worried me going into this game, TJ Bamba, who's just he's an all-everything type of player. He's a big body guy. He can do it all. They did a great job of neutralizing him. They took it to him. They got him in foul trouble too. So even some very smart play there down the stretch to get some of their key contributors to be really non-factors last night.
So again, at Washington, 9:30, late tip for that one. That's going to keep us all up late on Wednesday night. But then back at home on Sunday against Ohio State, actually back-to-back home games, Sunday and then Thursday, February 13th against Maryland. Those are two big ones that you get to have at home. Maybe at Maryland, of course, a couple weeks ago was a close loss, part of that stretch that they were losing some close games. So you get them back home, get a chance to avenge that one. And then, but Ohio State on Sunday, I'm told that there's limited tickets available for those two games. And so I know that fans were frustrated a little bit during that stretch, but here they are right back into that conversation of being in the postseason. They need to keep stringing together these wins. It is still one game at a time, because you can't go through another stretch like they just went through, but protecting the home court, they cannot lose another one at home. And so obviously the fan support, as it's been these last few seasons, is going to be absolutely vital over these next couple of games.
Yeah, we were looking at the first 10 games, and we knew that the end of that first 10-game stretch was going to be truly difficult, with having the games against Wisconsin, then also having Illinois. Even though it'd be at home, we knew Illinois would be a great team, and then having to start that West Coast swing out in Eugene. And Nebraska finishes that off in in style. So that's not to all of a sudden count everything before you get to it here against Washington. That's a team that's struggling a little bit too. But you talked about those 2 home games, and that homestand, having a game Sunday on Super Bowl Sunday where Nebraska should be probably rested at least enough. There's probably going to be a little bit of the travel jet lag a little bit, but then having a handful of days, not having to play till that following Thursday, but having back-to-back home games too, and you start to look down the schedule, these are all very good opportunities for this basketball team to start reestablishing what they were able to do against Illinois at Pinnacle Bank Arena, kind of get that home magic again. So this is I think a favorable stretch. Now, favorable is one thing, you actually have to go out and do it. So this is what is in front of Nebraska. So they were able to weather that storm a little bit. That was a big opportunity last night that they took advantage of, getting that conference road win much earlier this year than they did a year ago. So we'll see what they can do with that.
Huskers.com/tickets again. They probably won't last long, but there is a very limited availability of tickets left for these next 2 upcoming home games for Nebraska men's basketball. We're going to step aside for a break. On the other side of this, we're going to catch up with head coach Fred Hoiberg, chat about that win last night, preview the matchup against Washington, and 402-413-2400 is that number to call or text in here over the next couple of hours as we talk Husker hoops and lots of Husker football news coming up. We're going to dive into that here in hour number 2. Husker Extra is the best website and mobile app for everything Husker sports. From the experts at the Omaha World Herald and Lincoln Journal-Star, go to huskerextra.com or search the App Store today. Coach Hoiberg on the other side of this.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining built Ford tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, built Ford tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Tom Osborne, former football coach and co-founder of the Teammates Mentoring Program.
And I'm Des Moines Adams, Husker Black Shirt and CEO of Teammates Mentoring.
We are recruiting Teammates mentors and need caring adults to be in the lives of our students.
Meeting with a student once a week at the school can make a positive impact in their life and have a ripple effect in our communities.
Please join our team.
Go to teammates.org today.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
At Woodhouse, we're cultivating connections that are lifelong. Woodhouse has been proudly serving customers and communities since 1975. From your first test drive to servicing your vehicle, we're dedicated to providing you with a personal and professional experience each and every time. With a variety of top brands to choose from, we guarantee that we can help you find your next vehicle. We're more than just a dealership. We're a trusted partner. Experience the Woodhouse difference. Get started today at woodhouse.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Husker fans, if you're looking for a fulfilling career that's financially rewarding and provides flexibility, your local insurance agency is hiring. No matter your skills or interests, there are opportunities for you in the insurance industry. Explore the many ways you can use your skills to protect your community by checking out the IIAN job board. Find your calling and be a part of an industry that makes a difference. Go to iian.org/careers today.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining built Ford tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, built Ford tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
The Nebraska Men's Basketball Coaches Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, where people don't have your money has people. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. We've got a segment here with head coach Fred Hoiberg joining us on the road after a big win over Oregon last night. They're staying on the road before taking on Washington on Wednesday. Coach, thanks for joining us. Congratulations. A big road win last night.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. I'm really proud of the guys. They came out and set the tone early. I thought we had a really defensive mindset. First possession, we missed an assignment by smashing up to their big. But after that, I really thought we were on point, and we were able to build a nice lead before really about the 5-minute mark, and then we got a little turnover prone. Part of that was Raleigh got into foul trouble. He picked up a second. I think they went on an 11-0 run. Bryce had a big play at the end of the half, got to the rim, finished with authority to give us a 6-point lead. And I really, as I talked about at halftime, even though we were disappointed, 15-point lead went to 6. We still had a lead on the road against a ranked team. So we did a lot of good things. And then, the important thing was to come out aggressive in the second half and throw the first punch, and I thought we did that.
Got to the free throw line often, especially Jawan Gary. How big of an emphasis was that? Did you guys see that was something you could maybe utilize, take advantage of in this matchup?
Well, we did. They're very aggressive, obviously, with their defense, with their full court pressure, with their traps. And if we beat it, then we felt we could play with numbers on the backside. And I thought that we did a good job of taking advantage once we got by their first line of pressure. And then we got some, I thought our spacing was really good in some 3-on-2 situations. Bryce had a great little dump off to Jawan. And, we just took advantage of, the press in certain situations. And then, again, we wanted to make sure against their physicality, to be strong with the ball. And, we did have, I think, 12 turnovers. A lot of them took place at the end of the first. And then we had a couple right there at the end when we were, trying to keep them at arm's distance. But, yes, physicality, if we were strong with the ball, we thought that we could get into the bonus and get some free ones at the line.
Well, what's gotten back into Bryce, I guess, Bryce Williams these last couple of games? He seems like he's back to what we were seeing from him when he was really scoring it at will.
Yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And, the biggest thing that we talked to Bryce about, get back to doing the little things. When he's out there defending and making the right plays, his offense just finds a way to come to him. And, we really ended up going at the end of the game. Sam would go down and set a screen on the big to try to create a little separation against their blitz defense. And I thought he did a really nice job of getting the ball in the pocket where Andrew was able to finish, had a couple nice, pocket pass to the extra pass. And then he really just took over and got himself to the rim, got downhill, and I think got to the free throw line 9 or 10 times. And, he's just getting back to being aggressive and, finishing games for us. It's what we were doing earlier in the year, and it's been good to see him get back in his rhythm.
What about Juwan? How big has he been for you guys here over these last couple games? It seemed like he took it personally, wanting to try to get you guys back in the win column, and is really, it seems like he's leaving it all out there for you guys.
He is, and that's who Juwan Gary has been his entire time at Nebraska. He's just a guy that does a little bit of everything for us. He hit a huge 3 for us late in the game. I think they pushed the lead back up to 8. And, he's just making plays on both ends of the floor, winning basketball plays. He's not settling as much, from the outside. He's doing a better job of getting to the rim. We want him taking the open ones, but when he has the opportunity to attack a long closeout, we want him being aggressive and getting to the hole, where he's doing a much better job playing under control, playing off at 2 feet, and just going and making plays for us. But, when those two guys have it going, Bryce and Juwan, we've been a pretty effective team.
Well, let's go back to the win over Illinois, the overtime win here at home. Man, how good was that one for this team? You go to overtime, find a way to win at home, and, make those winning plays that you've been talking about.
Well, it was huge, Jessica, and I really thought we missed some easy shots in that game, whether it was at the rim. I thought, we did a good job playing under control. I thought our movement was outstanding in that game where, against Oregon, it was more ball screen, and, we found an advantage and a play that was working for us. In the Illinois game, it was more movement, and we talked about, really screening the bottom hip of the defender and trying to create advantage and get some separation where they're dropped big, would have to make a decision. And, we got some good plays at the rim. We just didn't finish them very well, and then we missed some open looks from the three-point line, but we kept guarding, Jessica, and that's what ended up winning us the game against Illinois. And got into overtime. They made a couple big plays down the stretch, but we didn't get deflated. And we came out in that overtime session, got our aggressiveness, got our rhythm back. And then Bryce, again, was phenomenal down the stretch. I think he scored the last 6 points for us in the last minute and a half. And we're able to hold off a really talented Illinois team. So 2 big wins against ranked opponents. Now we got a big one coming up here on Wednesday.
You had said this going back to the beginning of the season. You might have to win doing the gritty things on the defensive end. And these last couple of games, it seems like this team has gotten back to that. What's gone into maybe the defensive effort and intensity that we've seen these last couple of games in these 2 wins?
I think the big thing, it is we've gotten our identity back, and, that's how we were winning games early with this team. And, again, you look at our shooting percentage, I think we made 4 threes all night against Oregon, and we found a way to win a game and had a double-digit lead for a lot of it. So that's growth for our team. Getting back to where we were after that 6-game slide is defending through those tough offensive stretches when the ball's not going in the hoop. Even though, we were really efficient inside the arc, I think we've been over 50% the last 2 games, and a lot of those plays happening at the rim. So just, getting the identity back, it's a mindset for our team. When we play with toughness, again, we're pretty good.
You had talked about this. We've talked a lot about this on the show, that there's still a lot of basketball left to be played. But once you go through that tough stretch and now you've won a couple in a row, how does that change the confidence, the mindset? I mean, is it still just that one game at a time type of mentality?
It's how it has to be in this league, and top to bottom, all 20 teams are in the top 100, and then it's crazy to see, how deep and this league is. It's just top to bottom. Every night you're in for a war, and if you don't show up, if you don't play with effort, you're going to get beat. We got an opportunity to play a team, I think, that's playing their best basketball of the year coming up on Wednesday in Washington. They're coming off a road win at Minnesota. Minnesota was playing great. And, Washington, they play with so much effort, and they're very disciplined, and they're very physical. They got one of the more unique players in the league in Osabor, who is extremely versatile with his ability to get into the paint. He's got a variety of moves, runners, floaters, and he can knock down shots from the outside as well. But this team is playing with a lot of confidence. They've got a win over Maryland, and then this win on the road. And they've had a lot of really good teams in the league down. They had Purdue down 10 at home before Purdue went on a huge run at the end of the game. Their game at Oregon, it was they had a lead with under 7 to play. So this team is playing good basketball. We're going to have to be on point to to have a chance to win this one.
What will be the keys in this one against Washington? What do your guys have to do to be able to have a chance to win this one?
Well, we have to take care of the ball, and that's been important. I think we had 6 turnovers the entire game in 45 minutes with the overtime session against Illinois. And, we had the one stretch last night where we got a little loose with the ball, but, I think it was 12 turnovers against a team that pressures as much as Oregon does. So it's going to be important. These guys, they stay with their own. It's a little bit different defense than what we've seen with, staying with their own, warring through screens. We have to keep movement. We can't let their physicality and their aggressiveness get us stagnant, and then they'll play a little bit of 1-3-1 as well. We just need to keep the ball moving against their zone. But, again, I think Danny Sprinkle is a phenomenal coach, and he's got these guys playing really good basketball right now.
So you guys are staying out there. It's a late tip on Wednesday. What's the schedule look like for you guys? How are you going through staying out there and preparing and the traveling, playing out there on the West Coast?
Yeah, we had practice this morning in Eugene. We ended up staying over last night, and we'll get into Seattle. The guys had their recoveries this morning. We'll get a film session with them this afternoon when we get into Seattle, and then we'll get a chance to go over to the arena tomorrow and have a full practice. And then with the late game, we'll have a shoot-around time as well. So we'll get 2 more pops at getting the game plan in there, hopefully being on point with everything that we're teaching and go out and play a complete game. It's what it's going to take to have a chance to win on Wednesday.
All right, Coach, before I let you get out of here, last thing, obviously big news last week with John Cook announcing that he's retiring, Danny Busboom-Kelly coming in, taking over that program. You mentioned in your press conference just, one of the greatest of all time, especially in college volleyball. What were some of the big things that you took away from being able to work alongside him here during your time here in Lincoln?
Yeah, a lot. And, I feel very fortunate to have a good relationship with John. And, I was able to go up. I was doing my workout in the Devaney Center. I was, getting my steps in, walking around. I saw his light on. This was after the press conference in the morning. So I went up there hoping he was in his office, and he was, and just sat in there and talked to him. This was on the day of the game against Illinois. And I was getting ready to head over to PBA for our shoot-around. And I just spent, 15, 20 minutes up there talking to him and thanking him, for everything, for our relationship. Certainly we're going to stay in touch. I think the most impressive thing about John is how he got his teams to play with the chemistry that they did, getting, all the talent that he had at Nebraska, but getting them to play together. That's not always an easy thing to do when you have that many high-level recruits. And, that's, to me, the most impressive thing. And I did take a lot of things with him as far as building the culture. And, I don't think there's anybody ever that's been better to do it in the sport than John Cook. So, feel very fortunate to have worked alongside him, and certainly we'll stay in touch with him.
Great stuff. Hey, he said Danny sounds like she had a pretty good jump shot.
I've actually gotten to know Danny pretty well. I've been at a wedding, last summer where Danny and Lane, who played football, obviously, at Nebraska, where they were. And, yeah, she's going to be a star, I think, at Nebraska. Already is a star in the business, was playing for a national championship last year at Louisville. And I think having their best player, maybe, the best player away from winning the national championship last year. So I'm really excited for Danny. And, I know John is, too, to get one of his own players back in there in the head seat. And, it's going to be a great run with Danny on top.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. I know it's busy and crazy with the travel, so appreciate you stopping in and chatting with us here for a few minutes here tonight on our Nebraska Men's Basketball Show.
All right, Jessica, thank you.
All right, safe travels out there, and best of luck on Wednesday. And the head coach, Fred Hoiberg, joining us here on Sports Nightly. Contact 811 2 days before you dig to protect your underground utilities and yourself. It's free, it's easy, it's the law. Back with more of the show coming up after this.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts at Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/petroleum.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game. Thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rhule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Dorothy Lynch, home style and light and lean dressing, endless flavor abilities. Welcome back to Sports Nightly, technically our Nebraska men's basketball hour. Appreciate Coach Hoiberg joining us. He got off the practice court, came over, and did that interview with us to talk about last night's win. So appreciate his time. Nick Hanley here with us tonight. Jessica Coody. Nick, I loved to just the end there when he was talking about Danny Busboom Kelly, and it seems like every coach I chatted with Rhonda Revelle today, there's a lot of excitement with what Danny's going to bring to this volleyball program that obviously has become very, very important to this entire athletics department. And we've heard several coaches talk about just utilizing volleyball, how much that turns out to be a topic in recruiting, or that they utilize in recruiting. And so, that's certainly a program that this athletics department wants to carry on. And it seems like every head coach is just really, really thrilled for Danny Busboom Kelly. And how about this? The fourth now woman to take over as head coach of a program here, and the fourth alum. So four of the women's coaches that are coaching here, all were student athletes here.
And that's cool. And I think especially in volleyball, it just made so much sense. We talked about this last week, you and I, Jessica, about it always seemed like there was just one choice. And that's not to say that assistant coaches that have been on this staff, alum that have been on this staff, wouldn't have done a good job or weren't qualified for it. But when you look at the path that Danny Busboom Kelly has now found herself taking to get back to Lincoln, it seemed like she was set up for this. It seemed like John Cook, he gave her that message of, if you want to do this eventually here, you need to get out of Lincoln. If you want to be a head coach, you got to go find that somewhere first and then get over here eventually. Timing-wise, it worked out well, but the success that she had at Louisville, and as I mentioned last week, she's now made that job at Louisville that much more attractive than it was when she took over. I thought what Matt Rhule even said to open up his press conference after giving a lot of high praise to John Cook, and rightfully so, that he immediately talked about Danny Busboom Kelly and how much that volleyball program means to he and his student athletes. I think for a football coach to go on the recruiting trail or go to the Senior Bowl and have people bringing up the volleyball program and bringing up that game at Memorial Stadium, that tells you a lot. I'll never forget that morning after the Memorial Stadium game in Volleyball Day, Nebraska, where, that was a Husker football game day. Yet people were still coming off of the high of what they had just witnessed at Memorial Stadium, watching the volleyball team. And I remember watching the national morning shows and Good Morning America. They're leading off with that. So what Nebraska has meant to the volleyball world, and really largely in women's sports, it's colossal. It is absolutely huge. And it was going to take a special coach, a special leader that obviously has a proven track record of winning, but also understands the type of pressure, the type of expectations that you're going to have at a place like Nebraska. It's so unique to the volleyball world with that.
402-413-2400 is that number if you want to call in or text and be a part of the show. Okay, let's go back to men's basketball. I had a question in the chat earlier about talking about the men's path to the NCAA tournament. And after the stretch of losses, there's less room for error, but still, it's not like you have to win out to get into the NCAA tournament. You mentioned it. They've got some games coming up here favorable to win. You would hope that they would have good opportunities to win. You got to take care of business one game at a time. As much as that's coach speak, it's got to be one game at a time. But it's not like they have to win out to get there. I guess take us through what you think this team's going to have to do to feel pretty good going into Selection Sunday.
Well, and as we imagined, their net ranking did go up after this week. They were at 55. Now they're at 50 as of today. And so that's a decent place to be, because when you start sliding out of that spot and you start finding yourself in the 60s, it gets really tough. Historically, when we've seen teams that are on the bubble, if that net ranking is not at least in the top 50, you need a lot of help. Now, this could be a soft bubble, Jessica. I think it's early. It's still early February. But, I mean, think about it. We're essentially 28 days away, or less than that, from really getting a true feel of who needs to do what in their respective conference tournaments to get in. And so I do think that there's that part of keep an eye on the net ranking, because what Nebraska was able to do these last 2 weeks, if you're in a 6-game slide like Nebraska was, you really needed some help with some quad one wins. And what Nebraska did, I think maybe even a little bit unexpected, they did that. So they put themselves in good standing there. And as we've seen, the committee is typically going to reward you for quality wins as opposed to some unforgiving losses. Now, you don't want to build any resume with a lot of unforgiving losses, but you can look at a couple here and there if the quality wins kind of trump those. And I think right now that's where Nebraska sits. Now, I'm not saying that they're comfortably in or they're even in, but they have now put themselves back onto that bubble conversation to where they were a little bit further out of reach. I think they, as of last Friday, if I remember correctly, that they were the next 4 out. So now you look at a win last night, you're probably putting yourself in the conversation of the first 4 out, and that's fine. What we talked about with what Nebraska has right now is this is the good and the bad. The good is, you never, you're right. It is very cliche. You're taking this one game at a time, but the matchups are far more favorable for Nebraska in these next couple of weeks than they were, say, these last 3 games. And so if you're able to take advantage of those matchups and you're able to do what you need to do to get the favorable outcome, okay, then that's good. You got to keep winning. You got to build up some wins. 19 to me, Jessica, with those quality wins, I think could be enough. Now, you might have to win at least one Big Ten tournament game, but with the quality wins, it doesn't put that heavy burden of needing to get to 21 or 22. I think 20, you feel really, really good for what you have on the resume as well. Now, the problem, and this is the downside of this, is as favorable of some of those matchups are, you're not gaining a lot of traction. You're not gaining that many quad one opportunities. Now, there are still some quad one opportunities out there, don't get me wrong. But as far as, stubbing your toe against, say, a Northwestern or, a team like that where it's going to hurt you a lot more, where you could have that slide. Yet if you beat them, you're not going to take this big jump. So this is, without question, what you just said, this is where you have to take care of business. This is the part of the schedule from a matchup standpoint that favors Nebraska. They cannot afford another slide. If you lose one, you better follow it up with a couple of wins. And that's the other thing last night that I think also needs to be mentioned. We knew Nebraska needed a win in the biggest way, but then for them to get that win, you're wondering, okay, how are they going to handle the success? Well, they go on the road and they beat a top 25 team. And they win a Big Ten Conference road game much earlier than they did a year ago. So that's another good sign. So I still look at that 19. You probably need some work to do in the Big Ten tournament. But if you get to 2021, I like this team getting in.
All right, good stuff there. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. We're back to wrap up hour number 1 next.
As the world's largest family-owned and operated manufacturer of grain storage, drying, and handling equipment, Sukup Manufacturing Company has led the way in innovation, offering top-notch products that empower farmers to thrive. Get ready to tackle your agricultural challenges with Sukup, where innovation meets reliability. Visit sukup.com to find your dealer today.
Central Valley Ag is excited to introduce CVA Power Flock Layer Feed, the feed that works as hard as your hens. Boost your flock's performance with increased egg mass, a longer productive lifespan, and more sellable eggs. For a limited time, get a free feed scoop with your first purchase of 100 pounds of CVA Power Flock. Visit CVAcoop.com to learn more. Our planet is hungry. Together, we feed it. Central Valley Ag, the official co-op of Husker Nation.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Home ownership. At Progressive, we know it's part of the American dream. It's winds blowing across a fruited plain, and also your new fire pit, which subsequently sets your gazebo ablaze. It's hard-hitting football, and an even harder-hitting price estimate from your general contractor. That's a star-spangled bummer. It's also around-the-clock protection when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, which can help keep the American dream of home ownership alive and kicking. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest's premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Just have a couple minutes left here in hour number 1 and hour number 2. We're going to dive full in. We are going all in on Husker football. Lots of news there. Coach Rhule met with the media, so we've got lots to talk about, discuss, dive into there. But Nick on the text line, Stephen Bellevue said, Nick, glad to have you back on 590. Of course, 590, an affiliate here on the Huskers Radio Network. He said, we talked a few times when you had your own show. So Stephen Bellevue, we've got a lot of those compliments rolling in for you. Glad to have you here on Sports Nightly with us.
I remember Stephen Bellevue, so I'm glad that he's stuck with you guys, and that's great. It's good to hear from some of the former listeners, or maybe listeners that have just never left me. But I do appreciate that.
Appreciate that text, Steve, on our Sports Nightly text line, 402-413-2400. Should have mentioned, too, when we had brought up Danny Busboom Kelly, more of the details have come out about her celebration on Thursday, 2 o'clock inside the Devaney Center. She's going to have a press conference as well. We're hoping to chat with her here on Sports Nightly coming up in the next few days as well. But so it's going to be a fun day. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to show up for DBK on Thursday.
They need to. I mean, this is huge. You talk about one era of success, now hoping to just basically transition smoothly into another era of success for a former Husker too. And as we spent some time talking about how big of a deal this is, not only to the student athletes around the University of Nebraska, but also to so many people here in the state and beyond. So yeah, it's going to be very football-like.
All right, we got to get to a break. That wraps up hour number 1. Come on back, hour number 2. Lots of Husker football news and talk. Matt Rhule met with the media. We're going to dive into that. All the news coming up on the other side of this.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts at Sap Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sap Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sap Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sapbros.net/petroleum. Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, Nebraska men's basketball star Bryce Williams was named Big Ten Player of the Week for the second time this season. He averaged 27.5 points, over 7 rebounds, and 5 assists per game last week against Illinois and Oregon. Williams is the second Husker to win multiple Big Ten Player of the Week honors, joining Siobhan Shields, who earned the award twice in the 2013-14 season. In other Husker basketball news, assistant coach Nate Lenzer has been selected as a participant in the 2025 Silver Waves Media Future Head Coach Power Lunch this April in San Antonio, Texas. The event features 75 assistants and gives them opportunities to meet with athletic directors and search firms during the Final Four. Last year's class included 10 assistants who went on to be D1 head coaches. More information came out today on the welcome celebration for new volleyball coach Danny Busboom Kelly. It will take place on Thursday, February 6th at 2 p.m. in the Bob Devaney Sports Center. The celebration is free and open to the public, with doors opening at 1. The welcome celebration will also be streamed live on Huskers.com, the Huskers app, and social media accounts. For more information, visit Huskers.com. And finally, one major college basketball game tonight in the Big 12 as 6th-ranked Kansas hosts 8th-ranked Iowa State. Tip-off is set for 8 p.m. and can be watched on ESPN. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 2 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Williams bends over with the basketball up top, drives it, picks it out in the corner. Gary's three. Got it! Bang! A ring for Jawan Berry. What a huge, humongous, gigundous three-point goal by Jawan Gary, and it's an 8-point Husker lead at 61-53. It's Williams against Tracy. Here comes the ball screen. Morgan for Williams. They hedge that. Double team comes. He leaves his feet, throws it off to Wooster. On the pressure release, Wooster goes to the elbow. Pull up, jump shot on the way. Got it! Bang! Bang, a ring! It's Wally Wooster with a huge shot, maybe his biggest of his Cornhusker career.
Deep left side, Nisley, 1:41 to go, high lob, underneath, back cut, Prince, and it counts! And a foul! What a dandy dime from Logan Nisley on the high left side. Prince made the back cut, got open, and she'll shoot one.
Now, here is your host, Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly. Jessica Coody, Nick Hanley here with you on this Monday night show. And we had quite a bit of football unfold over the weekend with Matt Rhule meeting with the media. It was about a 30-minute session. Got a lot of really, really great information out of that. And so we're going to play some of that for you here coming up in just a few minutes. And some other breaking news nuggets. But Nick, how about that? We had talked about this a lot, about the offensive line and the need for some depth there. And when you don't always get the opportunity to get guys out of the portal, it's just not a position that offensive linemen just don't. It doesn't flood the portal each year, unlike some of the other positions. So don't have a lot of opportunities. And when those guys do go in the portal, everybody wants those guys, especially those guys with experience. But hey, announcing on his social media that Rocco Spindler is going to be a Husker, and had the most epic announcement ever post that he was coming here. He put Rhule, number 1, RHULE, run the damn ball. That's got to make Husker Nation really excited to see that.
Yeah, do you think he might have been he might have been onto something there? He might have been coached a little bit on what really gets Nebraska fans fired up there. But I was hinting at this guy for the last couple of weeks of, if they can close this one out, you're getting a very solid, proven winner at the position, but a guy that is an extremely solid interior lineman. And he, make no mistake about about it. He's versatile. He could play at center. He could play at guard. They've now created options there. I know Justin Evans is going to really put his foot forward there too, Sam Sledge. So you've got a lot of quality options there on the interior. And if he plays guard like he was playing at Notre Dame, we're talking about a little over 1,300 snaps, Jessica, where he only allowed 2 sacks. That's pretty solid right there. So there is, between he and Elijah Pritchett and what Nebraska did in the transfer portal and what they did when it came to NIL and being competitive, being able to beat out the likes of a big-time school that has a pretty darn good offensive line pedigree in Michigan, to be able to get Rocco Spindler over to Nebraska, it all of a sudden now, in my opinion, puts this offensive line in a spot to where I know none of us are going to say it yet because we still got to see how things play out, but an area that we felt at some point, and probably sooner rather than later, needed to be an area of strength. And there had been signs that you could at least think that it was an improved group. All of a sudden, if things play out the way that they very well could with 2 proven Power 4 starters at tackle and at guard, all of a sudden maybe we can look at this offensive line and say it's finally an area of strength for this football team, which would be massive.
The number one transfer portal class in the Big Ten, top 10 in the country. So, this staff did work in the transfer portal along with the talent, the young talent that they've got coming back, that they're developing. I did have to ask the big dog, Jeremiah Searles, our resident O-line expert, about Rocco, and he said, I love this dude. He's obviously trying to recruit him for his agency, but he's an absolute stud, said Searles. And so, Searles is a big run the dang ball guy. He's got a hat that he wears all the time. So, he stole his heart with that announcement. But I guess to your point a little bit, you always need the depth, and you got some experienced guys. And, the two guys coming back that played a lot of football that graded out really well on the offensive line last year that were coming back. I still am a little bit concerned with tackle. And I know that Donovan Raiola is someone that cross-trains all those guys. They go through and learn all of the positions, but you still worry, I think still worry a little bit about seeing those guys come along at tackle, being that you're going to be calling on some guys that are pretty young, that haven't had a lot of experience. Depending on what Turner and Teddy's status is, we'll see how this unfolds throughout the spring, but still would like to maybe see more bodies there at that tackle spot.
Yeah, and as we heard again on Saturday, a lot of those guys are still recovering from surgeries and from injuries there last year. The good news is everybody seems to be on track. Now, what that means for their spring, still very much up in the air, but as far as getting an on-time start with fall camp, everyone seems to be on track for that. Yeah, and you're right. This is where I look at if you can solve the tackle position. And again, if Elijah Pritchett's going to play on the left side, you feel good in that situation. If he's going to play on the right side, which he's done both, and he said he's open to play both sides, you still got to solve one of those tackle spots. And there are options. I think we're all looking to see what a healthy Teddy Prohaska could do, because there are certain student athletes, maybe with the exception of Allison Widener, that have been more unlucky when it comes to the injury bug than Teddy Prohaska. It's just, you feel awful for him, just like we feel awful for Allison Widener. But when you think of a guy like Gunnar Gatula, who at the tail end of his experience at the tackle position, where he really got thrown into it much earlier than I think he was probably ready for, and you saw in a lot of instances where he got outmanned. Boy, there were a lot of moments there towards the end where he looked like he belonged, and he was figuring things out pretty fast. So there's a guy. Obviously, Turner Corcoran's had some good moments and some bad moments, injuries as well. But if you don't have to necessarily rely on those guys to lock down a spot just because you're so thin at the position, as opposed to, hey, these are great depth pieces too, that's where I look at the tackle position a little bit differently. Now, a lot of this does hinge on Elijah Pritchett being the guy that Nebraska feels they're getting from Alabama, and him being able to pick up from where he left off in the SEC and kind of anchor that group of tackles there. But he's going to go into a room at the very least where guys that have plenty of college football experience, especially with Turner Corcoran. So there is, I think, the way that I look at it, if Elijah Pritchett, if he grades out the way that he should, all of a sudden you're looking at least a couple of interesting options there on the other tackle. And at the very least, you're going to have depth pieces too, which I think is also one of the first times we can say some quality experience depth pieces at the tackle position for this offensive line.
Yeah, and we're going to hear Coach Rhule talk about the O-line coming up, but that was a group, I mean, I've said this a few times, but when I had Donovan Rhule on the show, when he made his rotation, his turn in the hot seat during the coaches shows back in the fall, you could tell he was really excited about the way that some of these young guys were coming along. And it just is such a process to build up that offensive line. And Coach Rhule talks about that. You've got to build that from within. And so you feel like with some of those younger guys that have now been in the program, guys like Gunnar Katula who have had some opportunities, and then you add some of these pieces that have had some experience, you're getting to where you want that O-line to be. But you're right on Gunnar Katula. I mean, he's going to miss some time, it sounds like, just with some surgery after the season. But Coach Rhule said this in a post game that there was one of the games where he got moved into that starting position. He's your third string tackle and didn't even get asked about after the game. And so that goes to show you just that he was really took advantage of his opportunity and he continued to grow. And so you have him with some of those other young pieces that came in pretty highly touted. You get the sense that they're really excited about some of these young, talented offensive linemen to go along with the experience that they have coming back, but then also that they've added from the portal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a couple of guys we haven't mentioned yet that were on the two deep. Grant Bricks is another guy that, again, with the cross train from the interior to possibly a tackle as well. There's another guy that, let's not forget, he was a 4-star guy. From all indications, he has developed extremely well. That true freshman year was spent very wisely. He was on the two deep for the bowl game. So there's another guy that I'm excited to see how he makes that year 1 to year 2 jump, how he can throw himself in the competition. Macheshak, as we know, is going to compete for center. Sam Sledge as well. So there are depth pieces within the interior, and I think a little bit more experience on the tackle position too. But with the additions out of the portal, it solidifies not only some of the things that you feel Donovan Rhule and this staff have been able to do from a developmental standpoint with the younger players and the guys, the returning veterans that are coming back, but then to solidify it with not only offensive linemen out of the portal that maybe were with a good program and got a couple of reps here and there. No, we're talking about 2 bona fide starters. And as I mentioned, a guy who started every college football playoff game in Spindler. Those experiences are invaluable. And those guys are going to come in with that confidence, and you hope that they're able to set that tone amongst that group because, as we know, with some of the inconsistency that this offensive line has had, this is a close-knit group. And so you get all those new guys coming together as well. I think this is going to be a unit definitely to watch in the spring.
Okay, well, the other news that has developed over the last couple of days is that it would appear that the Huskers have landed on their special teams coordinator, the guy that will probably come in and coach special teams, and it's a familiar name in Mike Eckler. And another guy that Jeremiah Searles was really, really excited about was on the staff when Searles was here. And just seems like a lot of the former Huskers that played for him really excited about him coming back and what he will bring to the staff.
Yeah, and I think excitement is the first word you use because that's what he brings is that level of excitement, that level of intensity. This is a guy that he's that typical high-energy special teams coordinator that is infectious to everybody. He makes it cool to want to be a part of special teams into that third phase, whether we're talking about guys that are playing on the offensive side of the ball or guys that are playing on the defensive side of the ball. You want that guy that invokes that type of passion into that third phase. And we've seen special teams in different ways, Jessica, break down at Nebraska, whether it's maybe individual specialists that are having some downfalls, or like last year where it was the overall operation. We're talking about fundamental things like the snapping, the holding, those types of things that you wouldn't necessarily feel should be a major issue. So this is a big undertaking that Mike Eckler comes into, but this is also a guy that is extremely passionate about this place, getting his start at coaching over at Omaha Skutt Catholic High School in 1999. He's got family that are still here in the state of Nebraska as well. This place means a lot to him, but I also think I was talking about this earlier today. that this is also a guy that comes in from a program like Tennessee, much like Nebraska, a brand name, a household name, a program that experienced a lot of success and then fell off. And then now under Josh Heupel has found some new heights again and is now, again, on the field, a very respected brand. And a lot of that with the changing and the evolving college football game itself. Mike Eckler's had a front row seat to that as a special teams coordinator at Tennessee. He comes over to Nebraska with very similar resources. In fact, in some areas, maybe some better resources, where I think this guy is going to be a benefit to have not only in the special teams just overall functions, but also on the recruiting trail, also being able to interact with other coaches. The thing that I love that Matt Rhule continues to do is he brings fresh ideas to the table. This is a guy that is not surrounding himself with yes men. Mike Eckler is going to go a certain speed limit, and you got to be able to keep up with him too. So I think it's a home run hire. I think you needed to inject that type of energy into that phase of this football program. Mike Eckler, if he was available, that was the only thing. This is a no-brainer. My biggest question was he going to be available? Would he leave Tennessee to come to Nebraska? And thankfully for us, the answer is yes.
You know, Coach Rhule spent some time talking about special teams, and he did not talk about the hiring here. It's not actually official yet per the university, just, the reports coming out. It was not as well of a kept secret as the volleyball news last week. But, one of the things that he spent some time on is addressing the personnel, and that they felt like they addressed a couple of those needs in the portal. They also got some guys coming back that got some experience last year. So, sometimes, it's not like they didn't spend time on it in practice, but a lot of times too, it's about those guys being confident and comfortable in their roles. And so you also have some guys, some key returners coming back, but then also you address some of those needs that hopefully you can address some of those issues on special teams as well with the players that ultimately have to go out there and do that job. Yeah, no doubt. And again, it's one thing to get a guy that you identify with success in special teams and a lot of explosive plays in special teams under Mike Eckler this past year at Tennessee. Those are great. But that wasn't necessarily the thing that was hurting Nebraska. It was, again, the overall operation and some of just the basic functions of it. So is that an attitude thing? Is that a mental thing? Is there not enough attention to certain details in the operation? Whatever it might be, we may never know what was plaguing this team last year when it came to that. But this is the task that Mike Eckler has. Just because he checks a lot of boxes and he is a guy synonymous with successful special teams doesn't mean that's going to happen overnight at Nebraska. He's got to get to the root of that problem. And as Matt Rhule brought up, you bring in a guy from the transfer portal, a long snapper that you hope, okay, maybe you don't have to worry about that. But you can't take that for granted either. I mean, yes, it is a basic function in the special teams operation when it comes to punting, when it comes to place kicking and field goal kicking. But I think what Nebraska learned last year is some of those areas where you think are going to be, very elementary, you can't take any reps off for that. You got to make sure that those guys are as sharp as they possibly can be. And so, again, I think a lot of just getting back down to basics with that side or that phase of the football program is going to be huge. And so, look, there are personnel, there are players that you hope come in that can improve it, even return specialists, guys that will factor into that going into next year with the return game, which is great to see. It'll be interesting to see how the kicking competition plays out as well. But also, more than anything, how that operation as a whole, from everything that is involved with special teams and the types of players they're able to get into that phase, how they function on game day, because that's what really matters. They can have the best practices in the world, but are those things leading to success on Saturdays? And that remains to be seen. Okay, we're going to get to a break. On the other side of this, we're going to hear some of the highlights, some of the big things that we took away from Coach Rhule's press conference on Saturday. So we will dive into that next. Keep it here on Sports Nightly. And Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
Central Valley Ag is excited to introduce CVA Power Flock Layer Feed, the feed that works as hard as your hens. Boost your flock's performance with increased egg mass, a longer productive lifespan, and more sellable eggs. For a limited time, get a free feed scoop with your first purchase of 100 pounds of CVA Power Flock. Visit CVAcoop.com to learn more. Our planet is hungry. Together, we feed it. Central Valley Ag, the official co-op of Husker Nation.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
From family road trips in a spacious SUV to heavy-duty hauling in a powerful truck, Woodhouse has the vehicle to fit your lifestyle. Purchasing a vehicle has never been easier thanks to our streamlined buying process. Browse a huge selection of new or pre-owned vehicles from top brands. View transparent pricing so you can find the vehicle that fits in your budget. And complete your purchase online. Shop when you want, where you want. It's the Woodhouse difference. Get started today at woodhouse.com.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts at Sap Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sap Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sap Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sapbros.net/petroleum.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Nick Hanley, Jessica Coody here with you on this Monday evening. We spent a lot of time talking about the offensive line there in that last segment. We're going to keep talking offensive line, and this, of course, is even without the news yet of Rocco Spindler being added to the offensive line. He made that announcement official on Sunday, and, of course, Coach Rhule can't even talk about it officially yet either. But, he was asked about the offensive line, and with some of the injuries and some guys having to sit out of spring practice, some opportunities for those young guys to even develop even more, even building off of what they were able to do during bowl preparation. This is what Coach Rhule said on the offensive line on Saturday.
Even in the portal, you might find a guy here or there, like a one-year guy, but to win in college football, you're going to have to grow your own offensive lineman. And so we've recruited a lot of really good young players that have gone through the rhythm of redshirting and then kind of being a backup, and now it's their time to make their move, right? They have all the opportunities they want this spring, and I'm excited to see them. Guys like even last year, the guys we signed last year, Preston, Grant Bricks, those guys in the bowl game were in the two deep, and so it'll be their chance this spring to go out there and either be starters or be, in the two deep and show what they can do. There's a lot of guys that have spent a year or 2 years in the weight room, and now they'll have an opportunity.
Nick, this is a group I think that had extra benefits from those bowl practices, getting to develop and those weeks leading up to the bowl game. And Coach Rhule talked about them being on the depth chart for the game. And I was on the sideline when the Huskers were ahead. They were about to come in until it got a little dicey there at the end. They were going to come in and get some snaps there in that bowl game. So this is a group that they were really excited about throughout the development throughout the course of last season, but then really took another big step in the bowl preparations. And then now you're going to have another opportunity here in spring bowl. I think you talk about, I cannot wait to see how this group comes out in the fall, building off of what they were able to do last year alone.
Yeah, when he talked about the opportunities there that these guys are going to have, and if we're looking at the spring, but also what they had, what you just said right there in New York, getting those live reps in bowl preparation, that to me, I do think of the guys that he brought up there. I think of Grant Bricks, as a true freshman. I think of Preston Talmo, a guy that obviously projects to be very good, and especially as he continues to put on the right type of weight. All those guys going through the nutrition side of it, the strength training, but then all of a sudden getting those types of reps. Isn't it funny? We think about the bowl drought that Nebraska was able to snap last year, and then you can look at certain position groups for Nebraska that really lost out on extra practices and how it might have impacted them. Couldn't we make an argument that offensive line probably suffered the most as far as not having the benefit of those extra practices, especially given in a lot of the spring practices that they've had, that some of those guys have been working off of some of the offseason, maintenance surgery type issues, but where they haven't been full participants in spring. So all of a sudden, your reps are limited to just what you're getting in the fall camp and regular season. that's tough when you're trying to develop a young group, and by the time those guys are sophomores or redshirt sophomores or juniors, to be ready to play. I think the offensive line is the group that probably has been impacted the most.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, what did Coach Rhule have to say about the defensive line when he was asked about that group and replacing some of the key contributors they had last year, but some of the young talent that they've got coming back?
I think it's really going to be hard to replace a guy like Ty Robinson. I think he's, I went down to Mobile and watched him and talked to people with him. I mean, he's just an absolute dude. He's a freak, difference maker, athlete, tough guy, competitor. Nash, he went to the East-West game and put on a show, and he's big, physical. MJ did an amazing job for us of setting the edge and playing hard, and then Jamari had production at times. So, to replace those guys, but that's going to be the same thing year after year after year. I feel good about the guys we have. I think we brought some guys in, but the guys that were on the roster last year, the Keonos, the Riley Van Poppel, Cam Lenhart, they've been waiting for their turn. And we play a lot of guys on the defensive line. I think we have an excellent defensive line coach coming in. Phil's going to do a great job as the edge coach, and we'll be good enough to win up front.
And I'm with Matt Rhule as far as guys that are waiting their turn. How exciting is that? Jess, I don't know about you, but there were a lot of takeaways from Matt Rhule's debut in that game against Minnesota out of Minneapolis. So go back 2 years and think about one of the guys in that game that stood out, and we just didn't know much about him, is Cam Lenhart. And he kind of battled an ankle a little bit, but also had a really good game against Colorado as well. And then his role was a little bit more limited last year, didn't get as many reps. That's just because you had guys in front of him that were playing so good. Yet every time he got a rep, whether he was getting 5-6 snaps a game or he was getting more, his size, his impact, I think, is significant. I think of Keona Davis, as you mentioned as well. Another guy that projects to be very well up front. And we think about some of these guys. Riley Van Poppel, another one where I think at one point I was wondering, did they jump the gun on the red shirt? Exactly, yes. Did they jump the gun on the red shirt? But there's another guy that understood what his role was going to be, and he bought into it. And so now it's those guys' time. And this is where, and I'll give Tony White credit for this too, and trying to get that message across to those guys as well, even though Tony's not here anymore. That's not always an easy thing to sell, especially with a lot of those true freshmen that were getting some significant playing time. Then their sophomore year, they're asked to pull it back a little bit so we can develop you more. In this day and age of college football, that is not the easiest sell, but you had those guys buy in, and I think a big part of that is because of the guys that are leaving the program. They realize Nash and Ty and MJ and all those guys that were so impactful up front that they know, okay, these guys obviously are all gone next year, and then we get 2 years of just absolute party time. So let's get after it. Desan McCullough, another guy that I think with it out of the transfer portal there at that jack position, there's a lot of promise there. But also, if you look in the transfer portal, we'll see what Williams Winery ends up doing. But there's another guy that comes in with a wealth of talent. So not only do you have some frontline guys that I know I feel pretty good about, I don't know about you, but also some pretty good depth pieces behind these guys after losing such significant pieces, especially like a Ty Robinson and a Nash Hutmacher.
I guess talent-wise, I'm not worried. Ty Robinson, I asked him that specifically after the bowl game about how he feels about the guys that are going to be filling some of these roles, and he said, I feel great about it. These guys are ready. They're ready for the opportunity. I wonder about the leadership aspect of it, because that is something that Ty, Nash really developed into. And when things were not going well, it was Ty and Nash and some of those guys that pulled the group together and addressed them and held them accountable. And so that's where I think you have to consider, how do you replace that? And a lot of that is being developed right now as we speak. I mean, Searles talks about that all the time, about those leadership roles and those voices in the locker room are being developed now during these hard times, who's speaking up. And so to me, I think talent-wise, you got some guys as good as Ty was. I think you got some really talented players that are ready. It's just who's going to step up when there's those times of adversity and pull the guys together and challenge them and be that voice out there. That's, to me, going to be the thing that I'm interested to see as much as any is who's going to fill those types of roles for this defense, and throughout now and into spring football.
Yeah, it's a good question because a lot of those big guys that I brought up, you're around them a lot more than I am, but they come across when they're talking to the media, they're just polite gentlemen. Obviously you can turn on a switch when you get in the field, and then that intensity and that leadership shows. But you're right. I mean, guys even like John Bullock, I absolutely love listening to Javen Wright, but it wouldn't even shock me because of how much we always hear about his love for the game. Even a guy like Vincent Shavers, who's going to go in as a sophomore, but it wouldn't shock me if he takes on a leadership role too, because, you saw the way he was playing in that Pinstripe Bowl. That guy was not playing like a freshman. He was all over the place. So I think there's definitely options, but I'm with you. It's going to be interesting to see who emerges as those go-to guys, those butt kickers, so to speak, both on the field and on the sideline if that needs to be done.
Okay, let's get to a break, and then we had a couple more clips we wanted to play for you from Coach Rhule. Pretty fascinating takes from Saturday. So let's go ahead and work at a break, and then when we come back, we will continue hearing from Coach Rhule and some of the big takeaways from his Saturday press conference. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game, thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
Life is busy. Wouldn't it be great if someone could help you manage your insurance?
Well, I do have a lot to keep on top of. Between the house, my life insurance, the car. Like you said, life is busy.
A local trusted choice independent insurance agent can help you with your research, coverage selection, pricing, and claims at no extra cost to you.
Which means I'll have more time to spend on other things.
Trusted choice independent insurance agents. We'll help do your insurance. You just do you.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts at Sap Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sap Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sap Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sapbros.net/petroleum. Petroleum.
Here in Nebraska, we love our teachers. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska is teaming up with Husker Athletics to recognize teachers who help students live their best and healthiest lives. Visit huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today to tell us about your favorite Nebraska educator. Winning teachers get a school day visit from Herbie Husker and a VIP experience at the 2025 Husker football spring game, thanks to their biggest fans at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Head to huskers.com/touchdown for teachers today.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rhule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. All right, had a couple more clips we wanted to play for you here tonight from Coach Rhule's press conference on Saturday. We were talking last week about how, Coach Rhule and the staff's time in the NFL will help moving forward with this roster management having to get down to 105. It will not affect the spring roster, although they have they have downsized some. They still have too many that they're carrying, but it doesn't affect the spring roster. And even it's just into the fall. I think it's right before the first game is what he had said was the rule. But here was his take on how he's going to manage that, the size of the roster and getting down to 105.
I think the first thing you do is operate off the first 53, which we actually tweaked to 57 because, college football is a little different. So, we have, our first 57, which is built exactly off of an NFL roster, right? So, when I say 57, we're always going to think about 3 quarterbacks instead of 2 because you probably have 3 on scholarship. So, just a couple tweaks here and there. And then after that, I think you want to start to have, the semblance of a second 53, but it's really the first team of that. And then as you get to the bottom 10 guys, if that makes sense, between 95 and 105, I won't get caught up in, to me, there's going to be guys that bring a lot to the culture of the team. There's going to be guys that are flexible at practice, like Roman Mangini, whether he could be a starter next year or he could be, I don't know, but he's going to be on the team because there's no one that makes practice go better than Roman Mangini. I mean, he's out there catching balls on the scout team, spiking them, just raising the level of everything around us. And so, to me, that last group, and I don't even know how it's going to work yet. I mean, honest to goodness, I don't even know how the 105. I've been told that we think it'll be the day of the first game, so you might go into camp with more. And if a guy's out for the year, he won't count in the 105, so you can replace him with someone else. But it has to be before that first game. So I've had lots of players who, we made a conscious decision to tell every guy on the team, if we did the 105 right now, would they make it or not? So they had a chance to move on. And some guys have moved on and they found spots, which I'm really happy for. Some guys have left as walk-ons here and gotten a scholarship somewhere else, which is great. But some guys have said, Coach, I'm staying here until you guys, kick me off like I'm a Husker. And that's hard for me to sit there and say, well, they're not going to make the 105. So we'll compete it out all the way to the end and see how the numbers play out. Maybe if we have 115 in camp. Right now we're, I think, at 130. So we still have not reduced it all the way down. But I'm going to give everyone the chance this spring to try to make the team and see how the numbers play out.
I think it's great that he's had the conversation of, hey, this is where you stand right now, so that guys know and are aware of potential cuts and that roster getting down to 105. The last clip we wanted to play for you, I was just fascinated by this take. He was asked about what kind of qualities he's looking for when you're bringing in some of these transfer guys and who you want to bring and be a part of this program. Take a listen.
I think we have a lot of structure here, and sometimes a lot of young players push back on it, which I get, right? The older players, sometimes they come in and when I say by structure, it's like, hey, you have to get up and eat breakfast every day. And sometimes the guys come from a school that, they don't have 21 meals served by a chef, and they're like, wait, you're going to feed me? Like, I don't want to eat ramen noodles? Like, so there's a level of I can handle anything. I can handle guys who make mistakes. I can handle guys who lose their cool and yell at me. I just can't handle a lack of gratitude. I can't handle guys who are ungrateful. And so that's why the bowl was so fun, because some people left, and the guys that were at the bowl trip all wanted to be on the bowl trip. Like, we had fun together because everyone was grateful to be a Husker. They were grateful to have all the things that we have. And so when guys come to visit and they treat people well and they're grateful and all those things, then the talent speaks for itself. But I'm looking for that other piece. There's other guys, when they've left, we said, hey, this isn't going to be a fit. We had one player who was coming here, and just as he was dealing with people, it just wasn't a great fit. So we're not going to ruin the locker room over one guy. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, is trying to evaluate, why are you coming here? What are you leaving? And what do you really want to do? The second part I'll say is sometimes you have some younger players, right, who went somewhere and it didn't work out, and they're coming here, and then you have to figure out why. And then again, there's a compensation piece to it now, right? There's some guys you're going to take risks on. There's some guys you have to really invest in, and you have to really be diligent and not chase.
Nick, I love that part about he wants guys that are going to be grateful. And I said that a lot from the bowl trip. It just, sometimes in this day and age when you're not going to the bowl game, the premier bowl game that you want to go to, this was a group of guys that you could tell they really enjoyed every single moment of playing in that bowl game. But, you talk about a staff and Coach Rhule that has been a couple different places that you don't always have it like you do here. He wants guys that are appreciative of what's being provided for you as a Husker student athlete and a Husker football player.
Yeah, and it's that mentality, I think, Jessica, of what can this program do for me as opposed to what can I do for this program. And I'm not trying to quote the JFK, ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for you. It's more of that entitlement that we see. And look, when there's money involved, when there's currently name, image, likeness, huge dollars involved, and then a revenue share coming as well, there's going to be entitlement. And that's, to a degree, that's okay. But if you're going into it ready to embrace the structure that Matt Rhule just talked about right there, too, and understanding that I am going into this knowing that I'm going to make some money, knowing that I've been brought in for a reason, but I also want to have that mindset of what can I do for this program, so then maybe later on I can get from this program, as opposed to, all right, I'm here, you're all lucky to have me, so what are you guys going to do for me? That's not going to fly with Matt Rhule, and I don't think that's how you're going to build the team. Even in this day and age of college football, the team that Matt Rhule wants that can not only be a successful team, but also will be good stewards of this program, good stewards of this athletic department that Matt Rhule talks about a lot. So I thought it was interesting about just the overall structure, guys that can embrace it, because, Jessica, we've seen the last 2 years that he's been here, there have been guys that have transferred in and have been very slow to even crack the depth chart. And then anytime they're asked, their position coach is asked about them, the question is they're still learning. They're still making that adjustment. It's usually a very vague, blanketed statement. They're still making that adjustment. But when you read between the lines, you know exactly what that is. That's not the buy-in's not there. Remember the biggest credit that Jamal Banks was getting last year when people were asking about him. It was because of all the different things that from mat drills, but also the community service that he immediately, once he came from Wake Forest, he embraced all of that. That means a lot. They're bringing you in because they know you're talented, but they want to see if you can handle that structure, that formula, that ingredients that Matt Rhule feels is also going to lead this program, not only on the field success, but also having these guys set up for off the field success as well. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he also said that you might have guys that come in that you think are getting a lot of NIL money that they should be on the field automatically. Yep. But no, you got to do things right around here to be able to earn your spot out there on the field. And they're going to put the best guys out there on the field, no matter what your NIL earnings are. And you got to do the right stuff both on and off the field. All right, we're back to wrap up Sports Nightly coming up after this.
Central Valley Ag is excited to introduce CVA Power Flock Layer Feed, the feed that works as hard as your hens. Boost your flock's performance with increased egg mass, a longer productive lifespan, and more sellable eggs. For a limited time, get a free feed scoop with your first purchase of 100 pounds of CVA Power Flock. Visit CVACoop.com to learn more. Our planet is hungry. Together, we feed it. Central Valley Ag, the official co-op of Husker Nation.
Huskers fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Life doesn't come with guarantees, but working with Rob Seco comes pretty close. Our strategic investments in the seed we offer are designed to directly improve your bottom line. From full trait platforms, breeding and development, to field-by-field planning and seed-driven crop inputs, with Rob Seco, you have precisely what you need to improve plant performance and increase yield. Every farm, every crop, and every acre. Learn more at robseco.com.
In today's digital world, you can never be too cautious when it comes to your security. Cyber attacks are affecting more businesses every day. At Hamilton Business Technologies, we understand the stress and impact a cyber attack can have, not just on your bottom line, but on your ability to serve your customers and protect their trust. That's why we are passionate about safeguarding your business. From real-time threat monitoring to advanced security protocols, we help keep your data safe, allowing you to focus on what matters most. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Husker fans, let's call a timeout on the court and in life. When the game gets tough, Nebraska stands together as a family, as a team. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. You're part of the Husker family, and every member is valued on and off the court. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Couple minutes left here of our Monday night edition of Sports Nightly. We like to close out the show on Monday nights with our weekend winners at Camden. Who you got for us?
Yeah, well, hopefully I don't steal Nick's, but I'm going with the Los Angeles Lakers and Luka. Getting traded to the Lakers. He was averaging 28 points a game before he got hurt on Christmas Day, and then another 8 rebounds and nearly 8 assists. So certainly helps the Lakers out quite a bit, and not quite sure why the Mavericks traded him away.
That was wild, that news unfolding, and they're taking down his banner today. I mean, wow. Talk about a bombshell of a news drop yesterday. Nick, who you got?
What the heck was that, by the way? I'm still... Was that? I can't believe they accepted the trade and yeah, that just came out of nowhere. That was not mine, by the way, Camden. So you're good. I could go one or another here. I'm going to stick to something that I was very excited to see over the weekend, and I'm going to say my weekend winner is the PGA Tour. A big win for Rory in the AT&T Pro-Am, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. But also, if you look at that leaderboard, Jessica, Scotty Scheffler was back. He's in the top 10 after he had the little hand cut and everything. The leaderboard was some of the class of the PGA as well. You had guys like Shane Lowry in there. Justin Rose was up there, too. As I mentioned, Scotty Scheffler, Jason Day, all up there in the top 15. And even Jordan Spieth, who returned after wrist surgery. He had an awful Saturday. He had a quad on a par 5, but came back on Sunday and shot a 67. And as you know, the Waste Management is this weekend. So the PGA Tour is my winner.
Awesome. I'll keep it short and sweet, but Husker Fan Day for both baseball and softball was Friday night, Saturday. Great turnout for those teams, the meet and greets. Talked to Coach Revelle today to talk about how much it meant to that program. So as always, Husker Nation shows up for the Huskers. That's going to do it for us. Coming up, full 2 hours tomorrow, including Amy Williams. Thanks for listening.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Husker fans, if you're looking for a fulfilling career that's financially rewarding and provides flexibility, your local insurance agency is hiring. No matter your skills or interests, there are opportunities for you in the insurance industry. Explore the many ways you can use your skills to protect your community by checking out the IIAN job board. Find your calling and be a part of an industry that makes a difference. Go to iian.org/careers today.
For 48 straight years, Ford F-Series have been the best-selling trucks in America. We got here by engineering breakthrough technology, redefining Built Ford Tough, and never settling for second best. But what's really made Ford F-Series the #1 selling trucks in America is you. Ford F-Series, Built Ford Tough. Based on 1977 to 2024 calendar year total sales.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Neese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while